feel like maybe the Mtumba sector is leaning into them. Do you think that these two sectors that are within the textile industry can find a way to, work with each other?
I think so. I think we work together because there are materials that come from outside, imported, not the new ones. There are some that come from maybe Canada, from the USA, and they still use them. Unique materials, quality materials, unlike the normal vitenges, where you get with everyone. The good thing about Mtumba is it is very unique. So if I can get a good material from Canada and give it to him to make me something for myself, I wouldn't mind. So we can still work together. Yeah, in so many ways. Maybe,
Ashok, what do you think about what she just said? Do you think that some of your designs are maybe inspired sometimes by pieces that are gotten from the Mtumba industry? What's your personal experience of this?
Actually, to be quite honest, I also started from Mtumba. I didn't just start making garments just from scratch. I used to get pieces from Mtumba and customize them. That's how I learned my trade on how to make garments. In terms of working together, I think as long as you're in the same industry and you're selling the same product, it might be different in terms of the process, but you're selling the same product, you can always work together. Because at the end of the day, if we had a structure where both of us are working together, then it will be easier for the government to sit on the other side of the table and listen to whatever problems we have. But the thing is we have never been in a point where we can sit down, come together, come up with a common cause, and then present it to a sitting where you can have the stakeholders make decisions and improve on both sides. Yeah.
And maybe a couple of things on the textile industry that you should know is that it makes up for 7% of the country's export earnings and makes up for a huge chunk of the gross domestic product. This is a sector that the government is really trying to grow, considering that the apparel and textile industry is the second largest manufacturing industry. Maybe even, as I throw this back to Kathy, do you think that there was an argument, especially that came up with the Mtumba consortium, and they were saying it isn't necessary to try and put import levies and maybe regulations that are limiting this particular sector and the importation of these goods. We can work together. What do you think about this?
Yeah, of course we should work together. They have really pushed us. That one I can tell you for free. They have really pushed us. Everything has become very expensive when importing everything. The levies, everything is just expensive. Unlike before, I was giving an example and I was saying, before then, you could get a container at 4 million. Right now, it's going to almost 8 million. I told you yesterday, clearing the container alone in Mombasa is now close to 2 million. So it's not easy. It's a bit hard, and I wish they could support us, all of us, as much as they want to support the Kenyan garments. They should also support the Mtumba industry, because we are all getting a living from that Mtumba industry.
There's the question of sustainable fashion, and maybe, Ashok, for people who make custom pieces and bespoke pieces, is there a way maybe that you add on to sustainability? Because I'm seeing right here that 1 kilo of fabric makes about 23 kilos of greenhouse gases. So for making bespoke pieces, one of the arguing points is that it's not very sustainable, it's one-time fashion. What's your take on this?
Actually, bespoke can never be one-time fashion, because bespoke, from the word bespoke itself, comes from the English word bespoken for. This is something that has been there from the 1800s. So it's basically an expression of someone's interest in garment and why they want the garment to be made. So bespoke can never be a one-time fashion. It's actually not fashion itself. Fashion is actually very different from bespoke. Bespoke is you creating a garment for someone the way they want it to be bespoken for. So in terms of what you're saying about sustainability, yes, it can be sustainable, but where do we start from? Because at the end of the day, you work with the constraints and the things that are available to you. So in this country, if we're saying we're going to be sustainable, which platform are we starting from? That's a problem. Because if Ashok is going to be sustainable, we have 1,000 other guys doing the same thing. So how are these guys, how is there a platform where these guys can understand this is the rules and to follow to be able to embrace sustainability? That's the biggest problem that we have, especially in this garment making industry. It's very vague. It's very infant. And growing is a bit of a problem because at the end of the day, we don't get enough support, as she's saying, that we enough support to be able to grow to that level where we're having these conversations about sustainability. Right now, people are having conversations about how can I sell? How can I make money? How can I eat? How can I get up tomorrow? When it comes to conversation about sustainability, people are not on that level yet. So that's where we are now. We are still here, we're not here. We have to be comfortable enough and open-minded enough and learned enough to be able to have that conversation about sustainability. And the industry, as people take it, Mtumba and garment making, is still a Juakali industry. So if you don't empower these people to get to that level where they're having these conversations, we'll never get to that level.
Right, between the Mtumba sector and garment making, there is a very not so spoken about middle ground, that is importation of ready-made clothes, especially from China. It comes in cheaper, traders usually put a little bit of profit on it, and then they sell them. And this is a direct competition for the both of these subsectors. What's your personal opinion, or what is your personal experience from this?
Actually, what she's saying is exactly the same as the problem we're facing, taxation. You're charging them almost double now to clear one container. You're charging us 35% on 1 meter of fabric. And then this person importing suits and garments from China and Turkey is paying less. So what are you trying to show people? That all of us should buy clothes from China, and so what are we selling and saying made in Kenya? Or we are empowering people like Kathy to be able to grow a business. The business she has known for the last 10 years, business that she wants her children to continue working in. So what are you telling them? You're killing Kathy, you're killing Ashok, you're empowering Turkey and China. So where are we heading to? It's actually not competition if you're not competing on the same level. It's never competition.
Right, Kathy, do you feel like the entrance, Mtumba is quite, it's sustainable fashion. Mm-hmm. And then there is, the large-scale importation from countries such as China and Turkey. He feels like they're taking advantage, or they're getting more advantage from this, as these two particular creativity needing subsectors war on. What's your personal opinion on this?
Yeah, of course, there's so many China that is coming in right now in Gikomba. For some time, we tried actually going on the streets to make them back off. But I don't know, I don't like talking about the government so much. But how do these people get in that much, so cheaply? How are they able to bring their containers and sell them at 6,000, a bale at 6,000? Well, a bale from Canada goes for maybe 15,000, the cheapest. And the one from China goes for even less than 5,000. You wonder how they get into the market, how they get to Kenya. Like they empower, our people empower the foreigners more than us. They would like to kill us, the people who are in Mtumba business, the millions, just to make sure the Turkey gets into Kenya. Or I told you about Isili yesterday. So many of them, cheaply, so cheap. So even if you want us to wear maybe Kenya, things made in Kenya, a dress in Isili costs around maybe 500. He cannot afford to make a dress worth 500. So whatever happens behind there, we don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Kathy, you've been in the industry for almost 10 years now. I think you're going to be hitting 10 years very soon. Yeah. After COVID-19, the Mtumba sector was hit like maybe no other sector. Yeah. How exactly was the change pre-COVID era to now? Is it coming back? Is the growth still quite slow?
It's back. It can never be killed. Mtumba can never be killed. Of course, it almost died in 2020 because they banned Mtumba for quite some time. And it really affected us because by 2020, November, December, there was nothing to sell. But now, immediately, it was returned again to the market. We started selling, they started coming in, but very expensive because there were no clothes to sell anymore. Even now, I think there is that problem from out there where they used to pack them. I think it's not there anymore. The clothes are not like before. It's not the same thing. Things have become very expensive since then. But maybe with time, and as I was saying yesterday, the economy too really affected us. So there's so many things that will take time to be where we were before.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned the economy. We have a few facts from the textile industry that maybe is an interesting highlight as this conversation continues. The cotton, textile and apparel industry, as I said earlier, is Kenya's second largest manufacturing industry after food processing industry. And this is an industry that the government is trying to grow, considering that the manufacturing industry is to be grown from 7% to 20% in the next 5 to 10 years. The sector contributes to about 7% of the country's export earnings, even more in the gross domestic product every single year. Second-hand clothes imported in the last year are about 183,504 tons, which a lot of people usually have a problem with, considering that the revenue that was generated from second-hand clothing importation is about 15.8 billion shillings from which is about 128 million shillings. So the revenue doesn't necessarily go with the importation that has come in. And the concern of people is, where is all of this cloth, or where are all these bales going? They believe that it's not very sustainable to have it in the country at this moment. When it comes to sustainability, second-hand clothes are known to be sustainable. However, they say there's a lot of dumping of garments that are no longer in use. What's your take on this?
Oh, whether it's our Mtumba that is not going to use, or the new clothes, I'm sure you have a dress somewhere from Turkey. I know you have from Italy. You have something maybe made for you. If you're not using that dress, you're not going to use it. Whether it is Mtumba, whether it is from Turkey, whether, a garment that you don't want to use, you will not use it. So all these things have places to go to. So many places to go to. And I can assure you, when there is money running in the market, you can sell all of them, because people need them. You don't buy something that you don't need.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of money running in the market and money running around in the economy, Ashok, the Finance Act has come into play in the recent past, and of course it's still a matter of contention. However, it will have some impact in your particular sector. Are you feeling this pinch? Do you think that maybe for the youth who are looking to come into making their own pieces and creatively make designs, do you think that this is going to be a hindrance?
We've been feeling the pinch ever since even before they started this Finance Act. It's been pinch after pinch for the last 5 years. I think we will feel it definitely, of course, because it is going to affect the circulation of money in the economy. And I need you to have money in your pocket for you to come and purchase a garment from me. I need money in my pocket to go and purchase something from her. So it has to be a circle. So if people don't have money in their pocket, definitely we cannot trade comfortably. Commerce cannot be comfortable. So that, at the end of the day, we need money in the economy. It will definitely affect the bottom line, and we'll have to, like we've been doing even now, be more aggressive. At the end of it, we can never, if you continue complaining, if you continue crying, no one's coming to help you. You have to be more and more aggressive. You have to change it. If the system is not working, you have to change it with the changing times. So what I'm trying to say is, for the younger guys who are coming in, for our industry basically, because like I said, our industry is mostly perceived as Juakali industry. No matter how it has grown for the longest time, people still perceive it as Juakali. For the guys who are coming in from the university, from the colleges, there is a platform these guys can grow from. but there's no clear structure where they can grow their art. If you go to Europe, if you want to be a designer, you'll go for an internship. You'll grow in terms of your craft, and then you go open up your own business if that's what you want. If you want to continue employment, there is. But when you come to Kenya, it becomes very, very difficult to have that platform to follow. Because even the guys who are already there, like us, we are still trying to figure things out because the industry didn't have a map we can follow. Yes.
And if the presidential tailor is saying he's still figuring things out, I think maybe we will be discussing the structures that are in this particular sector and the consequent subsectors. But first, it's 10 p.m. I see. We go for a very short break. You can send your comments, your questions at TV47KE and at TV47 News, or you can reach me at Hibak Said. Go for a very short break. We'll be right back.
Rather walk.
It's a report. Our flight was cheaper.
Seriously, don't you have a heart? That thing? Of course it doesn't. Rather deal with real people. Download InDrive, agree on a fair price with your driver, and say goodbye to unfair rides. InDrive, people driven.
Hi, hi.
Radio 47 tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha. 95.7 Taita Taveta. Tunavuma na bado.
If someone faints, ensure to do the following. 1. Lay them down. Kneel by them. Raise their legs and give them fresh air and monitor them. If they are slow to recover, treat as unresponsive and call for medical assistance.
Welcome back to the marketplace. Before we went on a short break, we were talking about the textile industry, and maybe we were even highlighting some of the things that the textile industry people are going through, the various subsectors, some of the challenges they have been facing. Before we went on the break, we were talking about structures, and I think, you know, we need a solution-based approach. Ashok, if you maybe, what are some of the things you would recommend, not only to the government, but also players within the industry and policymakers and regulators? What are some of the structural implementations you would recommend?
First of all, it has to start with us, the people in the industry itself. We have to create a platform where we grow the industry from within, because we have a lot of talented people out here, designers, tailors, cloth makers, artists who want to grow their art and careers in this kind of industry. Because you have a lot of problems when people coming in from the university. They think that if you want to start this kind of business, you open up an Instagram page, you do a few garments, and then you start posting, and then you're sitting back there and waiting for clients to come. It never happens like that. So the market itself is very different. So us guys who are in the industry have to create a platform where these guys can come in, be absorbed in the industry, learn on how the industry is and the marketplace, and then they can grow by themselves. Secondly, the institutions who are providing education based on people who are supposed to come in this industry, they have to rethink the syllabus, the way it's set up. You take someone to a tailoring school, you teach them how to tailor. This is how you cut, this is how you create a pattern, this is how you stitch, this is how you do your finishing, then that's a garment. And then what? Are they going to buy the garment? No, they have to sell. How do you sell the garment? The market is very different. This is not Europe. This is not Gucci, Louis, or Prada. This is Kenya, this is Africa. The market is different. How you how I'm able to sell a garment to you is very different. Mass production is not a very viable thing here when it comes to garment making because we don't have our own fabric.
Right.
Employment, labor is very costly compared to other places. So we have to be able to create a syllabus where these people can make garments and sell to the market. Third thing is the government. The government has to come in always. These taxations and cost and everything else is bringing that industry down, and the industry hasn't grown yet. It's still growing. So to take it to that level, they have to sit on the table and decide that us, the guys who are in the industry, are supposed to be on that table to have that conversation. If you impose taxes on us, we'll pay because we'll have to eat. But this cost at the end of the day affects the bottom line of the business and the growth of the business.
Right, and maybe speaking about some of the things that would be implemented, I'm sure, Kathy, you usually have a lot of conversations with people who are within the Mtumba industry, even in Gikomba, and you have, the possible solutions that you could be giving to the government that could remedy the situation and the decline that we are currently seeing. What are some of them?
Ours is not as complicated as theirs. It's very simple, actually. So long as there are containers coming in, the biggest problem of Mtumba is the taxation, as he's saying, because it's importing. And everything that is imported right now from outside is very costly. The taxes, the levies, there are so many charges that you're given to, for us to be able to bring the container to where we are, it's very expensive. So I think they should only just be considerate.
Right, and maybe Kathy, you've had a tremendous amount of experience in this particular sector. For maybe the new entrants in the sector, some of the youth who are looking to go into Mtumba, they don't know what type of bale that they should be choosing. I feel like you've perfected that art in your own way. Maybe if I buy a bale and then it comes with maybe gothic costumes or something of that sort, I won't be able to sell them. What are some of the tips and tricks you would give them?
They should know the suppliers. Like me personally, I deal with known suppliers. I can't just go and pick a bale to sell or to open. I am very keen when I'm choosing a bale. I know the suppliers, at least the suppliers. There are suppliers in the market that people know, that are known for so many years, that have nice things. But you just don't go blindly. Before then, at least right now we are there to teach people how to choose a bale, or we choose for them. Before then, you could only go to a shop, buy. That's why you used to hear that bale in a choma kabisa, because no one ever used to talk about it. But right now we are there, the online team, we are there to teach them, to show them how I can actually even sell you a bale, come with you and open with you, just to show you how good it is, because I know the supplier. Yeah.
And speaking of creativity, Ashok, we've seen the story of Nkatha and how she maybe takes up some of the more popular pieces, and then she comes up with her own design, and then she sells it, in a manner that, it's already appealing to her customer base. Do you think that maybe there are more extensions on creativity that you could give to the youth on how they could take up things that are already there, transform it, and then make a business out of it?
Actually, that's how basically I started. I'm here because that's what I started doing. You get pieces from there, you alter a bit, you add something to it and sell it. Because when I started, that was 10 years ago like her, you could not basically just go buy fabric and make and sell. It was very, very hard. So the only thing you could afford if you're in school and you want to start a business, it's Mtumba. You get a shirt, you alter it in a design that looks good, and then you sell it. That's how you learn on how to grow and build the business. Because not all of us will start making garments today, but you use what you have to make something out of it. And Mtumba is a good basis to start from, because already you have pieces that have already been made. So all you have to do is use your creative mind to invent that piece to become something different that you can sell. And that's how you create your own market.
And you say growth is a gradual thing,
Yes.
which is very interesting, especially for a lot of the youth. There are people who watch you and they say, you know, Ashok is already doing these designs for the president. I feel like I should be getting there faster. They've been doing it for 3 months. What would your advice be?
First of all, I read somewhere that to perfect a skill and get it to a level where it's acceptable and consistent, it will take you at least 8 years. And the problem we give most of the youth these days, they want to make money tomorrow. I'm struggling today, I want to make money tomorrow. It's a very gradual process where there's peaks and there's valleys. You have to, on the peak, you have to maximize. When there's a valley, you have to learn from it. For example, I've been doing this now, this is our 10th year. And you've suffered more than you've gained. But now, when the graph is steady, now is when you make money. So people have to understand that this is not like a business like selling food where people have to eat. It's a gradual process. You have to create a product which is good enough and then market the product where people can accept it. When people accept the product now, then you have a business. Yes.
And you are a CEO, and you know you've gained so much insight into the textile industry and what it takes to grow within this business. What are some of, say, 2 points that you would give to a person who wants to be just like you? What would you tell them?
Be authentic and be patient. Because all the mistakes you do is just a learning curve. It's never an ending mistake. Every mistake you do, it's a learning curve. And also, the good things that you do, maximize on them. But always maintain your uniqueness, because that's your selling point.
One of the central points that we have found for both of these subsectors is the need to join hands and have a united front, especially when you're sitting at the table of policy makers. Kathy, you've been doing this for a number of years. Have you maybe conjoined or come together with other players within your industry and taken or tabled your problems to the government of the day?
Yeah, we usually do. Actually, for so long it has been happening. There's another time I had a show that with one of our leaders, and they had actually gone to the ministry, to Moses, to talk about it, and they discussed a lot about it. So I hope wherever they are, they're listening to us, and they will not kill us. They should at least support us, because all we need from the government is support, not banning. They're not killing the Mtumba industry. Yeah.
Exportation is one of the directions that the government is taking with this particular sector. They're trying to expand enough and empower the industry enough to sell on exportation. Already, it seems like we are struggling, within the country. Do you think exportation is a dream we should be having, and what are some of the ways that we can, fasten our reach for this?
To get it, it's very achievable, but the problem is, what are we exporting? Because if our cost of production, the raw materials that we use for production, even the machines, we import, what are we exporting? Because it's around, most of the things are coming in, then you're exporting a product. But the machines are not produced here. Fabric, which is the basic raw material that we use for making a garment, we import. And we are paying that much tax on it. So, and then we want to export to these same guys who are giving us the fabric. It will never work. We have to start to a place where 70% of our raw materials are produced locally, so that when you get to that point, we are exporting something different to these guys. I cannot buy meat from you and then come and sell you cooked chicken, a stew. You see, you already have the meat. Why am I cooking it for you? You understand? So we have to get to that point where we have a platform, we have an industry, because like now, you have Rivertex, which is producing shirt fabric and is producing printed shirt fabric. We cannot sell only printed shirt fabric, all of us. You see, it doesn't make sense. You need a variety. So if I'm making suits and shirts, where am I getting fabric for suits if I'm getting shirts alone? You understand? So who am I exporting to? That's the point. The only thing we are just stuck here is just selling pieces to people who are outside there. who are in the diaspora, who are Kenyans, want to get a piece of home. But we cannot export in mass because the cost of production is still very, very high.
You've spoken about raw materials, and your concern is quite valid. However, the government, I think the approach they're taking right now is giving BT cotton seeds because they feel like production at the very base, at the farmer level, is what they should be investing in, so that they have, cotton processed, and then we'd have these garments which are coming through Rivertex. Do you think that this is misinformed?
Of course, because cotton will only give you a certain variety, you understand? But it's a big industry. It's a big industry. Cotton will give you like Rivertex is producing shirts and I think cotton fabric. But how many people are selling this product as a finished product? You see, very few. The other aspect of this is still not being catered for. If I'm making suits, I'm making wool. Where is wool coming from? You understand? So, and then Rivertex is only one plant. We need a lot of this so that we can be able, if I have a plant that's weaving wool, then the suit guys are okay. Cotton, the shirt guys, or maybe the kitenge guys are fine. You understand? Something else, someone else is catered for. If you have one of each, then we can say all of us have somewhere we can start from. And then is where we can sit down and say we are selling made in Kenya. Because from a value chain, from point zero to the finished product, it's Kenyan. Because we have a value chain in business. The farmer who's planting the seeds, the factory who's weaving the yarn, the retailer who's selling the fabric, and then the consumer who's making the garment to the last person who's wearing the cloth. That's a value chain. And if we start from the start of the value chain to cover the whole industry, then we have an industry, and then we can say we're exporting.
And speaking of industry, before we even delve into that matter more, one of the major problems that the Mtumba industry is facing at the moment is the fires that are engulfing the toy market and Gikomba. It seems like they're always interchanging. Do you think that maybe there are ways that this particular subsector can insure themselves? Do you think, what are some of the suggestions you would give? Is insurance, open to a lot of the traders? Do you think that they should be learning on this?
Yeah, people used to insure back then, but now it reached a point that the fires were too much. And people, I think, were just tired of even insuring and getting paid just a little of, maybe you brought a container yesterday, worth you 5 million. Maybe the insurance will pay maybe $1 million, because they're also tired of the fires, because they come all the time. I told you yesterday, I went there, down there, 2 weeks ago, and I was shocked, because before then it used to be a place, it was a huge market, not only for people who sell pieces, but for people who sell bills. It was a huge market. You could not go around in a day through the shops. But right now, everything is on the ground. I think I only found like 10 traders who are now down there. It is all fire, smoke, and it's very sad. I don't know the reason for the fires, why they are always there. I don't know. But right now the buildings have come up, actually. If you come to Gikomba now, the Gikomba we knew 10 years ago is now different. Now there are so many buildings coming up. We're actually now in buildings. Not the market anymore, the Mabati stores, all of them are gone.
Development, especially in, as you said, value chains, is very important. When you're talking about bespoke pieces, I feel like your business is quite solitary. Have you maybe talked to other makers, designers, people who make garments? Have you come together so that you have a unified voice, especially when approaching policymakers?
Yeah, there's Kenya Fashion Council, whose primary role is to be able to consolidate all of these people in the industry and be able to have one voice to present to the government. And I don't know how much progress they've made, because I haven't seen any from my side. But at the end of the day, there is a voice. I don't know how much is being heard or how much is being presented, but there is a voice. and there is a platform where the government can say, I can refer this to this group and listen to what the problem is. But at the moment, as we have a new government, they're also still trying to figure out most of the things that they are doing before they get to a point where, because like you said, we are subsector. They are sectors. So before they get to subsectors, it will take time. So we are just here waiting, sub-waiting also at the end of the day for them to get to us.
Sub-waiting, you say. As you know, the conversation comes to a close, and I think we've discussed so much. You've said 35% goes into taxation, some of per meter of fabric. That is. What are, you know, some of the solutions that you would give? What are some of the ways that you would encourage, especially for the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, to take up to, you know, upgrade or ensure that your subsector is doing well?
Because the first problem I got actually from their side, from the government side, what I had is, it's a problem for us, like the garment makers, who are making garments from fabric and selling, to track our contribution to the economy. Because most of our people usually don't pay a lot of taxes, because it's mostly an informal sector. That's what they perceive it as, an informal sector. So being able to invest in that sector becomes a problem, because you have to make money to invest money. So if the sector is not making a lot of money, then, because these taxations are high, these guys cannot afford to pay that much in terms of, especially the guys who work day to day in making garments. Okay, Ashok is a bespoke tailor, but you have a tailor there who has a small business and is trying to make garments and sell. So how much is he going to pay in terms of taxation? Not much. So the government cannot track their contribution to the economy. So that becomes a problem. So that's where now we have to find a middle ground where we can be able to say, okay, we can make, these guys can pay this much tax, so they can be able to contribute to the economy, and then the same money can be tracked back into the sector itself so that it can grow. Cushioning in terms of the taxations and importations, and creating those industries where we are on the top of the value chain, not the final part of the value chain, being able to invest in education, being able to invest in these institutions so that these guys who are coming up can be able to find somewhere they can grow their craft. Yes.
All right, upskilling, of course, is a very major, one of the most major solutions that they could possibly have. What are some of the solutions then that you would give, especially to the youth who are coming in? You're talking about having specific skills that are going to propel you. What are some of the creative insights that you could give them?
That's basically, like I've said, the problem usually comes in is you're youthful, you have energy, you're creative, but you don't have a platform. So when you don't have a platform, don't try to create the platform right away. Try to learn from the people who are in the industry. I might not be as good as the next person you think is good, but I can teach you a few things on how to build your own craft to get to that level where you want to be. I can be a stepping stone. I can be your future. I can be a help. So if you find someone you can identify with in the industry, please work with role models. Work with someone who can hold your hand to the next level. If I had someone holding my hand when I started, it would have taken me 10 years to sit here and have this conversation.
Speaking of role models, Kathy, maybe if you could just tell us, what are some of the solutions that you would give? And in extension, what advice would you give to the youth who are looking into coming into the Mtumba sector?
So long as you have something small. You don't have to look for 20,000. You don't have to look for 500,000 to start. That's the good thing with Mtumba. And it doesn't need a lot of training. You only get, if you want a bale, if you're able to start with a bale, you get a bale from someone who is experienced enough, who will tell you exactly what's inside that bale, how many pieces that bale has, the number of the camera pieces, you know, there is that, the camera pieces, those pieces, the sorting out, you call it the sorting out. So as long as you can get someone who can teach you how to get a good one, sort it out, price it, that's it. And you have your market. The market actually is the most important. You have to get somewhere that, you know, you'll get people who will buy, you know. To those who don't have money to start with a bale, you can start with pieces. If you have your 1,000, you can get your 10 tops, 100 each from the market. You can get fagia tops at 50 bob, maybe adjust them a little bit and sell them at 100 bob.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you so much, Ashok. We've gotten so many insights from both sides of the textile industry. What are some of the problems that the industry is facing? What are some of the solutions that could be given? And what are some of the insights that could be given to the youth who are looking to come into this particular sector? Maybe just for a refresher of some of the things within the textile industry. We've already highlighted that the textile industry contributes to about 7% of the country's export earnings. The cotton, textiles and apparel industry is Kenya's second largest manufacturing industry, second only to the food processing industry, and that largely comes from the fact that there is horticulture. Avocado processing is a major seller for the country. We have also highlighted how the revenue generated from second-hand clothing imports is about 15.8 billion shillings last year, growing to about $128 million by 2016. And maybe even that protectionism against Mtumba industry is a major problem, and it's needed, or it has been suggested, to boost local textile industry.
Right.
Conversations on the textile industry. A lot of people seem to have started from the Mtumba business. Have you ever thought about it, Stanley?
Not yet, but then I am always curious why men's clothing are way expensive than ladies. I'm pretty sure Ashok could tell you, even for bespoke, by the way, we as bespoke lovers, you'd go and find a whole suit, just the whole of it, into millions of shillings, by the way. So
and maybe, Stanley, I feel like, is it maybe from a lack of creativity? Do you maybe think that you guys, if you went thrifting at around 5 a.m. like us ladies usually do, you'd get maybe custom pieces also?
The thing about bespoke, you really have to have it. There's no way around it. So, so basically, I'd want, a particular piece, like what I'm wearing. Well, it's not really Kenyan, it's a whole Italian piece, so you'd really want that, and it's definitely way expensive than I'm pretty sure what you're wearing.
Oh, for the love of God. The thing about suits, Stanley, is that I feel like maybe if you took a few thrifting lessons from women, you maybe would find a bespoke piece from a person who is your exact measurements from another part of the world that you could maybe use instead of bespoke pieces.
Well, most definitely. I've written all those particular pointers down here by Ashok and Kathy, most definitely, and I'll use them, maybe get a cheaper, bit. But then asante sana for your feedback and all that. Even also the whole, point on matters, the whole fires in toy market, toy market, and the other one is
Gikomba.
Gikomba, I was looking for that word, yes. And all other markets, really, it's always a huge disadvantage and challenge for Mtumba traders. So it has really been tackled here.
And a lot of the Gen Zs are finding a middle ground between Mtumba and making bespoke pieces. They're taking pointers from Mtumba and making really nice pieces for their particular for the people who are wearing the clothes that they like the most. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is The Marketplace. We were talking about the textile industry. We will be talking about another topic next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. This is the soko that you need to be in. Business made easy, solutions for the businesses that you are trying to get to. And we generate or recircle around problem-solving and solution-based approach for the youth who are looking to make money.
Most definitely. And from the cameras in Mtumbas to cameras and lights out right here, Hibak and I are out. But then we meet a few hours, by the way, from now at 6 a.m. with Flora Limuki and Fred Indimuli, how to start your morning on #Morning Cafe. Sleep well and wake up to that.
Have a good night.
We live here.
Might as well.